Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 5th of February 2014. So in today's news we have, we have one thing about Season 15, a little bit of Warlords of Draenor things we can kind of infer from that, and then one or two tweets, which are actually quite good. So yeah, it's really just that kind of lull between information, really. I honestly do expect that things are going to pick up in the next few weeks. Anyway, so Season 14, or 15, well, players, PvPers, listen up, the season is ending in as little as 2 weeks' time. Once this happens, they will begin the usual process of calculating reward eligibility, and that could take up to 2 weeks. Don't transfer any characters until after Season 14, and the reward distribution process will take about 2 weeks, though they're aiming for 1, and you're only going to be considered for rewards if you have a 1k or better rating. Also, Conquest will be turned into Honor, and anything over 4,000 points will be turned into 35 silver per point. Season 14 items will have their cost converted into Honor points, then rated battlegrounds and arenas will not be available during the week break from Season 14 to 15. Finally, the Season 15 should begin about a week after Season 14 ends, and at this time all your personal ratings, things like that, will reset. And the Season 15 Prideful Gladiator gear is going to be item level 550. And it will be the same as your opposite faction's current Season 14 armor, so essentially they are just swapping the Horde and Alliance models. It's a nice way to add just another arena season without having to do all the artwork all over again and take away, just time from Draenor. Now, I think actually that during this week lull, and this is something that's really in general, that skirmishes would be quite a nice feature for this week in between. It would allow new teams and things like that to practice for a little bit. So it's like, I don't know, it's just a bit of a pity that skirmishes ended up not really being a thing. I don't exactly remember when they were taken out of the game, but it's funny, when they remove something from World of Warcraft, what happens is the game keeps on evolving and evolving to the point where the old code won't work anymore because it's running on this old engine, and I've got to assume that there's a lot of legacy code and things are, I say, probably a little bit harder to implement than we'd imagine. Ideally, perhaps if this was a new game, then it's just a completely modular thing where they could just plug in the skirmish system, but I very much doubt that it's actually like that. So yeah, it would be nice to have skirmishes a week, just in that week before the main Season 15 begins, because just for getting together with people, training up a little bit, and if you just really want to hit Season 15 with, on the ground running. Anyway, so according to some chat on Twitter, actually Halinka has got a lot of personal responsibility in making Season 15 a reality. Basically, it seems to me that given how Season 14 had a few issues at the start, and then there were some well-measured class tweaks that are going to be coming in patch 5.4.7, it seems like this is a very good move for the PvP community. It would, well, I guess it is more gameplay being added via updating all these systems before Warlords of Draenor, so you're still going to be able to have that nice competitive thing going on for quite a while, and the stagnation that happens when everyone gets the high-end PvP gear and maybe there's not as much of a reward structure left for some people, that will probably leave. That said, for the people who really care about PvP, I think that once everyone gets their PvP gear, that they get the full Season 14 gear, or 15, whatever, then they're just kind of happy that everyone's going to be on an equal playing field and it's skill only. But yeah, that's not gameplay that applies to everyone, so by resetting the seasons and allowing for some more gear progression, it really does open it up to everyone, which is quite good. So what does this mean for Warlords of Draenor? Well, let's just say that Season 15 starts in, I don't know, 3 weeks' time from now, as Halinka earlier said on Twitter, and then it should last about 20 weeks, which is actually what Halinka said on Twitter. I think he said ideally he wants them to be from 20 to 26 weeks, but considering that this is the patch or the arena season before an expansion, and they are splitting Season 14 in two, because Season 14 probably would have ended up being one of those 40-week-long seasons that's absurd. Because they split it in two, I think it will be 20 weeks. Which does line up with what Halinka said. So currently it is the 5th of February, which means that in 23 weeks' time, it would be the 16th of July. Now perhaps that would be near the Warlords of Draenor release date. Maybe that's when the PvP season ends and the pre-Warlords of Draenor patch comes, then 2 weeks later the expansion itself hits. I also think that the Warlords of Draenor pre-orders and beta are going to start rather soonish, which is of course completely terrifying for me because I have university projects and things that are essentially just starting now. A little bit scary. So yeah, it's interesting with Warlords. It still does have to have a lengthy beta process, and this would line up pretty well with how long a beta could be. It's just weird, I guess. They really did make it sound like it would be significantly earlier than the, say, September launch that Pandaria had, and maybe things aren't panning out as well as they thought. Though Blizzard, I suppose, do end up running over schedule in quite a lot of instances. Actually, I remember back, I think it was Cataclysm, it ended up being delayed, I think 2 or 3 weeks, which is a bit odd. Then finally, the 16th of July is the middle of the summer, and the end of the July is obviously the dead middle of the summer. Now, here's a bit of an issue. A lot of people go on holidays during the summer, or they're otherwise occupied. So, the good point is that perhaps because people have a lot of free time, they're all good to jump into Warlords of Draenor. But another thing is, well, perhaps people are away in other countries, they're on holidays, they're chilling out, they don't really feel like playing a game. Maybe World of Warcraft does best when it's during that kind of 9 to 5 schedule when people can just play WoW when they come home from work. A little bit of an interesting topic. I don't really know if any World of Warcraft expansions have came out in the summer before. I should probably have checked that. I know that Cataclysm didn't, and I know that Mists didn't, so at least recently one hasn't. And it would be interesting to see what a summer release would turn into. I'd nearly be worried that they would actually sort of wait until September, until like kind of everyone is back on the schedule of work and all that. So, yeah, I don't know. That of course, is based off the way that work and holidays and all those things work in the sort of pan out in the UK. I know that, say, in America, people take quite a bit less holidays than we do over here, so maybe if they were targeting the American market, it wouldn't matter as much, because that 9 to 5 thing is something that happens constantly over the summer. Over here, like, if you have people who are, say, civil servants, they're going to end up taking a lot of time in lieu over the summer. They're going to have their standard 2-week holiday and lots of things like that, a lot more flexibility. So there are definitely some markets in which I could see a summer release being a little bit kind of weird. So, yeah, I mean, look, I don't work that well. I mean, I work more than 9 to 5, and YouTube's kind of 9 to 5, but it's not a set, like, legit job. It's not like I'm, 30 with a degree, employed, etc. If you are in that position or something like that, what do you think about a summer release? Like, would that coincide with your holidays, or... I don't know, it's something that honestly I'm nearly aged out of that debate, other than whatever speculation I can kind of throw that way. Anyway, so let's move on to the second and final topic for today, and that is Twitter. One or two interesting things. First of all, Celestian mentioned again, for the millionth time, that many talents from BlizzCon have been changed or significantly replaced. Actually, I should retcon that. Significantly changed or replaced, because, I can't English for shit. Yeah, a lot of the talents are being changed. That's, of course, a good thing. Some of the BlizzCon talents were more just ideas of things that could be cool in the game, not necessarily things that would actually make sense within balance and gameplay. I think, though, that they really did parade out some cool ideas for gameplay there, and I'm interested in that. The philosophy that made those BlizzCon talents could make some really nice in-game talents for people, so I think that's all really damn good. Now, the other thing that Celestian said is probably the more interesting one, and this was actually an accident, he wasn't supposed to say it, but yeah, basically said that the Garrosh heirlooms are going to be roughly equivalent to Heroic Dungeon Blues in Warlords of Draenor. Well, actually, he said Dungeon Blues, but I'm assuming at max level he means Heroics. I'm not particularly sure, but honestly, that sounds fair enough. I'd say that these Garrosh heirlooms are going, especially say the Heroic or normal ones, are going to be the thing you'll use during leveling, and then once you hit endgame for Warlords, there will be better options. That's completely the right way to do it. You do not want any of the, items from the previous expansion being a key part of any of the item progression for the endgame of the next one. But it's nice to have that perk there during leveling, so honestly I think it's quite a good move. As for Celestian accidentally leaking it, basically someone asked Ian Hazacostas, and then Bashiok sort of flew in and said, yeah, we don't have anything to say, but in a kind of funny way. And then Celestian leaked it, so hey, we know some more information about Warlords. Honestly, I think it's fine. The gear progression is something that'll be very interesting in Warlords, because we now have 2 tiers of dungeons at max level, with there being normals and then heroics, so hopefully that's going to mean that just in terms of item levels, maybe you could have, say, your level 100 normal Dungeon Blues, then maybe your level 100 Heroic Dungeon Blues, which are maybe a few item levels higher. That adds a little bit more gameplay there, some more progression, and the less that the Garrosh heirlooms take away from that progression, the better, especially because they are weapons, and weapons are an iconic thing, and it is fun to be able to replace weapons, and if you just have one thing that's going to do you until raids, no, that's really not good, because there is some nice gameplay in getting a new shiny weapon to hit things with. Anyway, we have completely ran out of news for today, and I think I've bullshitted for long enough, so thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any comments or opinions about what was covered, please leave them down in the comments, and please like, subscribe, all those good things, the drill that you're used to hearing from me, and I will see you next time.